Have you ever wondered why the alphabet is in this order? Why are all the vowels separated? Why aren't similar sounding letters grouped together? Why aren't similar shaped letters grouped together? Is there a reason for it? Probably, but I'm not discussing that today. Instead, I'm organizing the alphabet based on shape for personal curiosity. Will I focus on the lowercase? No, not today. 26 letters. Simple, right? When I look at these and I completely ignore the uses of them in the alphabet. Instead, the way I've grouped them is by what their shapes are made up of. First, I'm going to look at the letters and say, oh, I only want the letters that have straight lines, aka vertical or horizontal lines, which means that they are either parallel to each other or perpendicular to each other. If I have those pulled out, awesome. There are 6 letters. Great. Now we have 20 more to sort through. How am I going to sort through those? Angled letters. So these lines can still have straight lines in them. There are horizontal, there are vertical lines, but they also have a variety of angles. They're not consistent angles, depending on the font that you're using, but they're all angles. So we have 11 letters left. We have 6, 9, 11. The last letters have curves in them. So these ones have a mix of straight lines and angled lines, but are primarily curved. So when you put these all together, wow, we get a colorful alphabet. But this is still the alphabet as we know it to be organized. What happens if we bump them? Now we have all the straight lined letters. We have all the letters with angled lines, and then we have all the letters with curved lines at the end. But even then, they're still in alphabetical order, just grouped differently by their shape categorization. So what if instead I go through and I sort them on my own logical insight based on their shapes? Start at the beginning. You have single vertical line. I feel like it's the simplest shape. It's just a line, right? Now there's a little bit of trickery because I'm trying to figure out how the letters relate to each other as I'm organizing them. So I thought, I felt like H went good next because 2 vertical lines, 1 horizontal line, but it doesn't kind of match with the other ones as well as they do with each other. Went from H to T. Those ones are kind of interchangeable in my head, but I just went with this way because the rest of the lines only have 1 vertical line. So I was like, we'll put the H at the beginning. T, L, those are kind of similar. It's just a matter of shifting the vertical line or not. L is kind of like an F if you flipped it vertically and added a horizontal bar, and E is kind of like an F if you duplicated it, flipped it vertically on itself. There we go. Makes sense, right? Now we get into our angled letters. Now this one's kind of weird for me. I chose Z first because the horizontal lines, top and bottom, match really well with the E. And we have our first angled line, which introduces you to the next concept that we have going in. Something that's kind of nice about this, we jump ahead to the end. The N is kind of like the same thing, just turned on its side and smushed a little, kind of compressed and condensed, I guess you would call it, technically speaking. But we start off with Z because we got the 2 horizontal lines and 1 angle. And I was like, oh, what better next than 1 vertical line and 2 angled lines? And continue with 1 vertical line and 2 angled lines, but they intersect kind of funky. And then we go into X. We only have angled lines. Angled lines? Angled lines. Diagonal lines. Love them. Now the A kind of throws you off a little bit because now we're back to horizontal lines. But when you consider the context of it between X and V, it makes sense, I would think. Because the V is the same thing, flipped without the horizontal bar. W, it's like 2 V's. M, it's kind of like a upside down W, depending on the font that you're looking at. Or it's kind of like a V smushed between 2 vertical bars. When you think about N and you go into the next set of letters, we have curved letters. A lot of these letters don't have straight lines or even angled lines in them. So next logical letter for me, shape-wise, we got U. Got the 2 vertical lines. Great, excellent. A J is kind of like a U, but take away one of those vertical lines. They don't overlap perfectly if you try to do it, but who cares about that? Now it gets a little tricky because it doesn't really match up with everything else. But I was like, P. He's got a vertical line. 1 vertical line matches up with the J. And then if you take the hook on the J and you turn it, it's kind of like a P, right? But the P is the base of the next few letters. You get P, you add an angle, an R. You take away the angle, you add a curve, it's a B. You got two curves on top of each other. You take away that line in the middle, you get a D. Oh my gosh, you take away the straight line, you flip the D, it's kind of like an O. O, we add one line, it's a Q. We add two lines and take away a part of the circle, it's a G. Take away some more stuff from the G, it's a C. You do a weird thing with squishing the C and removing parts of it and flipping it around on itself on a 180 around a center axis or something, and you get an S. An S really doesn't fit in with literally any other letter on here, so it's a pretty good end, I would say. So it's from I to S instead of A to Z. Does that make sense? No. Should we learn the alphabet this way? Absolutely not. But for my personal curiosity and what I wanted to do with it, this is exactly what I was looking for. Now that I've walked through all this madness and my thought process on it, what's the reason? What is the reason behind the madness and making a nice smoothie out of the alphabet that has great function in its current form? Well, there is actually some reason behind my madness today. I have an interest in typography and font design, and I was curious if I grouped the letters by shape, if I could determine how many basic building blocks I would need to make an alphabet. And I think I satisfied my curiosity. Is this an abomination of an alphabet? Absolutely. Please don't ever use it. Can you imagine if we learned the alphabet this way? IHTLFEZ, YKXAVWM, NUJPRBGOQGCS. Now I've ruined the IHT. Next time someone stop me, please.